Time is 6:30 p.m. I hereby call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the Sunderland Selectboard. Our first order of business is going to be to approve our minutes from our last meeting on October 28th. Do I have a motion?
Do we also have executive session minutes to approve? They're in the folder. I just figure I could do them both at once if we have it.
I believe so, but we have to do those in
We would
executive
have to,
session.
we'd
Yeah.
have to go into executive session to do that.
To approve the minutes?
Yeah,
Yes.
for the,
Okay.
yeah.
Alright.
They become
Alright.
public eventually,
Yeah.
but for.
Alright, I motion we approve the minutes from our last meeting, 10/28.
Second.
All right, we have a motion made and seconded to approve our last meeting minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, nothing, Vicky, thank you. Alrighty, so our first order of business today is some very welcome news to all of us. Today is Becky Torres's first day as our new town administrator, so.
It's such a pleasure to be here. The staff has been really awesome on my first day, and department head, at least one checked in. And there's a lot going on. I'm starting to get the pulse and a lot of budget things to work on. I've been already working with the accounting firm, and thank you so much for hiring me. It's greatly appreciated.
It is absolutely our gain and Tewksbury's loss, so we're very happy about that.
Yes.
All right, so welcome aboard. Our next order of business is appointments with the Energy Committee. Would you like to take that away?
Sure. The Energy Committee is here in the audience today to present two topics,
Yes,
and I will turn it over to you.
cool. Well, shall I come up here? Is that-
Yes.
How's it, Mary?
Please.
Been talking for a while here. Thank you all. My name is David Goodwin. I'm the chair of the Sunderland Energy Committee. And I'm joined today by two of our three members, Laura Williams and Meg Fisher.
Is the what?
Krugman. You never say the Krugman part.
I hate to interrupt you, but
Yep.
our owl's not actually working, so it's not recording you,
Okay,
if you don't mind. Many things, and one of those things is a lot of technology got inserted into small towns meetings, which is a great thing in the long run. In the short run, it's a logistic.
There we go. It just
Yes.
helps since we don't have FCAT.
Yeah, no, I good call on that. Thank you for catching that. Very sorry about that. Please.
shall I start again?
Yes, yes.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for inviting us to this meeting. My name is David Goodwin. I'm the chair of the Sunderland Energy Committee. And I'm joined with two of our three members, Laura Williams, longtime member, and Meg Fisher Krugman. Krugman, I'm sorry. Well, see, that was good because that's what I did the first time. Aaron Falbell is our fourth member, and he's not able to attend tonight. The first item we wanted to discuss tonight was the EV charger donation. And the person who was supposed to be here, from the East Coast, I have to get my glasses on, East Coast Renewable Energy Company, Nick Valori. Kind of hoping that he was gonna be here, but in the meantime, why don't I just kind of introduce the concept here and sort of a brief history. Don't be daunted that my notes are 3 pages long here. I'm gonna be as brief as I can, but I do want to say that, we moved here from Shutesbury as well. So
Oh, you
I have a
did?
feeling you're stalking me.
It could be the other.
Could be
no.
well, we've been here for 6 or 7 years.
Oh, I guess not.
If you go further back, I grew up in Shutesbury and I left about 20 years ago. So
Okay,
it's the
so-
I
same
guess I'm
thing.
stalking.
Big circle of life here. Okay. So we are, as the Energy Committee, of course, very interested in electric vehicle charging. Back in 2021, we were notified about the Mass EVIP program, the Electric Vehicle Incentive Program, which provides grant money to build EV charging stations on government property. We thought, what a fantastic idea, town of Sunderland. We had what we thought was a fantastic couple of locations. So we were working with the former administrator, Jeff Kravitz, and we ended up applying for a grant. And we were considering either the library parking lot, the town hall parking lot out back, or the Graves lot, as it's called, the park and ride out on North Main Street, Route 47. We submitted what they call a make-ready application to the state for that for two level two EV chargers. That was all that was available at the time. So if you're not an EV owner, the level ones are like the trickle charger, the twos are the slightly faster, the threes are close to the superchargers, okay? So at the time, that was really all that was available. Our make-ready grant application was behind the town hall. Eversource saw that application. They didn't like it there. They said it was going to be too expensive and they liked the Graves lot, the park and ride out on North Main Street instead. Okay, that was fine with us. Jeff, however, thought it was a terrible idea because that was right before the North Main Street repaving project was about to start, and he didn't want to try to coordinate all of the construction and that, and the other thing. So, long story short, nothing ever became of that. Okay? Several months ago, it was either Jeff or Margaret, I'm not sure who was the town administrator at the time, forwarded to me a letter from Jim McGrath, who was working with the East Coast Renewable Energy Company, which is a for-profit company, I'm pretty certain. Said that they were interested and they've been working around in Massachusetts to donate level 3 chargers to towns. And of course, we were interested in that and responded very favorably to that inquiry. We did meet with Nick Valori, who works with Jim McGrath, on September 17th at our regularly scheduled Energy Committee meeting to discuss it. And we were suitably impressed by what he had to say. Couldn't believe that there wasn't a downside to this, and I'm sure there is. I'm hoping he will eventually show up here tonight so we could discuss this a little bit. But the Energy Committee, of course, is very, very supportive of having a couple of level 3 chargers in town for a variety of reasons. And he has discussed with us a bunch of different possible locations. They do have to be accessible to the public. And what I've learned in the meantime is that Eversource requires that they're visible from a public road as well. So people know that they're there, as well as the app that shows you where they are, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. So just to confirm, that would include behind this building here, unless it was somewhere where you could kind of see it around the corner or something.
Yeah, it does preclude it, I would think, for that very reason.
Yeah.
It doesn't preclude the Graves lot. It doesn't preclude the library necessarily. Although Aaron tells me that the library would never support that idea because parking is kind of at a premium there some of the time. They've also discussed the possibility of at the public safety complex. So that's kind of where this all stands. We did ask for some references of some towns that there were people that they were working with in various towns around the state to try to get some better idea of what their experience with East Coast renewable energy has been. And one of the people that he recommended I talk to was Nicole from East Hampton. And I assume Nicole was like on the Energy Committee or something, and you can find her on, do you know what I'm talking about?
Old boss.
Okay, well, turns out she's the mayor of East Hampton. So I had a long chat with her the other day about this, and she was very, I think, open and honest with me about their successes and some challenges with this whole concept, but they're moving forward with it and they seem pretty happy with it. So I have a list of questions from her that I was hoping that Nick would be here that we could sort of get some clarity on. So I'm not sure really how to proceed at this point if he's not here, because the whole idea of this meeting was to have him be here to explain it.
I mean, I have a couple questions that maybe you guys could answer just to sort of make sure that our two core committees are on the same page. I'm assuming this would be a, revenue neutral operation in terms of electricity, charging the people who are using the chargers. It's not gonna be a free model. I know a lot of towns like Northampton have recently shifted from a free model to a revenue neutral
No,
model.
this is a pay for charging concept.
I just wanna make sure that because I'm not sure the town has the financial ability to absorb free charging for anyone currently. I mean, again, when we heard about it, at least from my perspective, I can't speak for the rest of the board, we were very excited about the prospect, especially of getting free level 3 chargers, which was great. There's of course the question of how much supplemental adjacent costs the town are gonna have to absorb in terms of putting in their infrastructure and the permitting and that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that any of that's necessarily roadblock per se, just that obviously we need to keep that in mind and budget for that and, you know, keep working on that. But I think it would be great for town to have that. I do kind of agree with the library being premium parking because there are definitely times where that's an issue. You did mention the front parking here. Was that ever any consideration? The
In front
parking
of town hall?
in front of town hall?
No, it wasn't, but it could be on the table for sure.
Okay. It just feels like underutilized parking in general. There's not usually a lot of people there, and with the parking in the back being as plentiful as it is.
Yeah.
You know, and there's also, of course, aesthetic questions to raise. That we want to have the EV stations right in front of our town hall. I don't know. That's a question.
I'm not worried about aesthetics, I'm more worried about safety.
Yeah,
So
Okay.
that would be my only concern with having them at the public safety complex, only because I work someplace for chargers,
Mhm.
and on those kind of hot miserable days, sometimes people let their kids out of their cars,
Right,
and they're,
yeah,
you know, if there's a grassy area or whatever, the kids are playing, and I just don't wanna create a safety hazard for a fire truck or a police vehicle
Yeah, that's,
attempting to leave their office and somebody's kids frolicking in the parking lot.
and also
That's,
judgments aside, not everyone feels comfortable going to a public safety complex in order to charge a car.
yeah,
I don't wanna make anyone in the population feel unwelcome to use those stations, so that would be kind of
Yeah.
my concern there.
and you're not near anything either, you
Yeah.
can plug in, you
That's-
can go shop or do whatever you do.
that's a big one. Both Laura and I are EV owners, you know, so we know what the whole charging scene is like. And you like to charge someplace where you can do something, go get something to eat.
Yeah.
Take a scenic walk, do something, and at the public safety complex, that may not be the right spot for
No, I mean,
it. So,
we've been having a lot of conversations in town about the village center revisioning and trying to revitalize the center and get more people to come in town to stay, and so trying to tie that into this makes
Right.
sense from my perspective.
yeah,
Which kind of leads us again back to either somewhere close to the town hall or the Graves location. So is the Graves location, from your perspective, the location right now, or?
I think that's probably the highest
Yeah.
priority right now. There's, I don't know, what, 4 or 5, 6 spaces out there. So that raises a bit of an issue, and I live, you know, close to the center of town, and there's quite often cars parked there. You know, they meet there to go for a bike ride or whatever, so it's not like it's a always available lot. So if you put in 2 parking spots reserved for EVs, that would reduce, that would certainly have an impact on that.
Now, just brainstorming, is there any room on Swampfield Drive at the, old Emmerich Road end of it for a little, thing, so it's far enough away from the school that we're not worried about interaction in that respect? Or there's isn't there a, next to, the O's, there's like a open lot there.
Is that town land?
I
State.
think it's state, but.
Well, that's government.
It's government, and so, it might be,
And there's 25 spots on it.
yeah,
That are never
Next to
used.
Subway?
No, it says, well, south of the O's,
Okay,
that parking lot in back, it's in back, there's 25 spots there.
and that.
oh, the rust area you're talking?
Yeah,
oh,
Okay.
there.
Because-
Oh, at the pull-up,
yeah,
Sorry,
oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
yeah, just because that's about as central to the commercial part of our downtown. I mean, this part of downtown doesn't really actually have that much commercial in it, a lot of that's gonna be in that little mini mall there.
Yeah, right,
With, you know, Frontier and the coin operating one and whatnot, and it also means it's close to apartment complexes, you know, 3 of our apartment complexes would be within walking distance from there, so if you have EV owners who live in those complexes, they'd be able to
yeah,
charge their car and,
They'd be less likely to be able to have something at home either.
yeah,
The
so.
thing is, it's not highly visible.
That's true.
Would you wanna park your car and leave it there?
No,
You know what I mean? And I'm not positive that's plowed during the winter.
yeah, they say it's not maintained, really.
Oh,
Well,
really?
so, and one of the things to consider is to try to coordinate this with other efforts in town, one of those being the shared use path, because we're already talking about running, you know, I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but we have a shared use path that's in the process of trying to connect UMass all the way to the park and ride in Whately with a shared use bike walking path. We have funding for the design, currently, we're working on that.
Feasibility study.
Feasibility Thank you. I will defer to my engineering buddy over here. And just that location, I believe, was part of our consideration for connecting to that location, so people would have an entry point to park and then go for a walk or a bike ride on that shared use path. And if that's part of the consideration for that project, it makes sense to at least have that be a consideration for where to put the EV, because again, it'd be a great location for someone to come park their car, let it charge for 2 hours while they walk up and down and check out the library or the river walk, or
Right.
maybe even go all the way up into Meadow Street and Amherst where our current end is.
Yeah, sure.
David, could
Yes.
I just, so this proposal is for 2 chargers and each charger would be for 2 vehicles?
It's open-ended. What Nick had been talking to us about is 2, 4, 6, whatever we were interested in doing, so it wasn't really limited. I should mention, there are costs associated with this, and those are that's the aspect of this whole thing that I'm still not entirely clear on. There's maintenance, there's software updates, there's the agreement that the town has with East Coast Renewables to either buy the systems or lease them from them. So I think, again, I wish Nick were here to discuss this, but I think the idea is they're donating the hardware, the actual unit,
Yeah,
and the
And then
town then.
Eversource donates the electric installation.
I don't know,
They do sometimes, yeah.
I know they do at times.
yeah. I
So
don't-
that would be a question that we would be able to, we would wanna ask is, can we get any kind of additional grant funding for this, especially from the state?
Yeah.
To be able to offset those costs, and can we, when we're trying to price point our electricity cost to the end user, can we roll in some of the maintenance to that and have a
Right.
realistic idea of,
Yeah.
it's not gonna just be your electric costs, but also this for public goods.
So it's important to state for the record, this is not just a donation of everything, and wow, we've got these
Yeah.
EV level 3 EV chargers and never have to pay a penny for it, it's not that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's an entry into it that could benefit the town under certain circumstances. Right after we met with Nick in September, I went down to talk to Margaret about it, because she's working in Deerfield, and you know, I wanted to arrange this meeting. And she said, well, we've done a similar kind of thing in Deerfield, and it hasn't really turned out as lucrative as they had expected.
Hmm.
Because they weren't getting the high use that they had expected, so it ended up costing them more. She said, just be, you know, go into this with an open mind and ask a lot of questions.
Put it in the spot where it's gonna get used to,
Yeah, so there's a lot of factors that could lead to the success or the failure of something.
Again, and it's something. You gotta have the discussions, but the post office. If there was an electric charger there, there's another easy to walk around downtown, walk around.
that's
But
true.
then it gives the post office the opportunity to try an electric vehicle if they chose to, because. They'd have someplace to charge it without
Right.
installing something.
Which is also one of the drawing points of the public safety complex, is we're trying to help them transition to electric vehicles there too, and it was kind of in anticipation of them maybe getting EVs at some point.
And that's both, in many ways, a boon to that location, but also a drawback in terms of public opinion is, do we get this donation and we put it in a public place and then
Well, there's these-
half of it is being used by our police
Yeah.
cruiser all the time, and the public's like, well, yeah, well, that's not actually for us, is it? It's for, you know, the town.
Right.
I would wanna tread lightly on that respect if we went there, but yeah, I think the post office is also definitely.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
Not true.
I just want to mention, about a year ago in Shutesbury, we had a proposal similar to this from a company called Livingston out of New York State.
Mhm.
And their proposal was, almost, there were no costs for the first 5 years. And then it was gonna be $1,000 or something to pay, annually to pay for their, the package where they, you know, the customer pays all the software that went with the money and the flow of money. But other than that, the first, the installation was all covered, everything was covered until the end of 5 years.
Mm.
And then the only additional charge was at around $2,000, but the biggest concern people had in Shutesbury was, okay, so what if we need to repair it? It's a $300,000 piece of equipment. How much is it gonna cost for us to repair it?
After the 5 years.
Yeah,
Or-
and that was the overriding concern that made people hesitate. And there was also feeling maybe that, yes, the superchargers are faster, but how, when people are actually shopping and going to work and having their car sit there, you don't always need the fastest one, so something less expensive might do. But I just wanted to throw that out there, but if you're interested, I could follow up and see if Livingstone still is making those kind of offers, so you can compare it.
That sounds
and-
pretty similar to what.
Yeah, it
these
was so
folks are
similar, I
saying.
thought it was gonna
Yeah.
be the same, but,
Is there
the more I
5-year
listen-
was mentioned as well.
oh,
here,
okay, so it's the same kind
it
of
could very
grant
well
funding
be.
program
Yeah.
through National Grid or
Yeah, so,
Eversource, so
Yeah,
it's
so-
probably the same.
well, this
man.
isn't National Grid here, this is Eversource
Right,
here.
so- and-
Shutesbury, it's National Grid.
Right. But,
But yeah, and then again, you have just your long-term maintenance of it. And, there's, you don't usually have overhead wire going to it, you have underground wire, which is very
Costlier to-
expensive to replace when it fails.
right,
Which is also another benefit to having it someplace where there would already be the appropriate. Like public safety complex, for example, already has the electricity coming to it that's gonna be sized. Close, I would assume, no?
Well, no, I mean,
you need to,
Again, if this whole thing falls under Eversource
Mhm.
supplying the electricity to it. They'll deal with that, right?
Yeah, okay,
the
It
reason,
doesn't, yeah, it doesn't need a high voltage or anything like that.
well, actually, the reason, we got the call in Shutesbury is that summer, National Grid ran 3-phase power past our town hall. And the 3-phase power is required for the superchargers.
It's for the little fee.
So,
And that's gonna come up in the next item on the agenda as well for transfer stations,
Oh, good.
3-phase power.
and do you all have 3-phase power in town?
Well, yeah, there is in town, yes, there is,
Not all over the place.
not all over the place,
front
no,
of-
but in front of this public safety complex,
There
there
is.
is.
In front of
Over
Graves?
here on Graves, there is,
Good.
Okay.
yeah,
Is there any near town hall? Kelly?
why can't I even picture?
Oh, fun.
I just can't even picture, it's not even,
You have a map of 3-phase power in Sunderland in your head?
I work for the electric
Oh,
company.
okay. Answers that
She
question.
knows.
I'm impressed. You knew that. Okay,
It's fine,
so it goes on North Main Street, goes on South Main Street, probably 116,
Plum Tree,
Plum Tree Road, yeah,
Plum Tree,
for sure.
but maybe not back here.
yeah, but if it's not, I mean, we're only talking from corner
I think
down.
it's 3 poles maybe to get it there too.
Okay,
That's a. I got a young engineer who's done about 10 or 20 of these. And I'll connect you two up,
excellent.
just to talk to him, because
All right.
he'll fill your head with stuff,
All
he's
right.
been doing it.
Well, I've kind of exhausted what I can tell you. about
Yeah,
this.
yeah, I'll definitely reach out and connect you guys.
Great, great. Okay, thank you.
Alright, so it sounds like unless we have, Nick show up, we're gonna have to table the rest of this discussion. But you did wanna talk about the transfer station also?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Interested,
One.
interested to hear, yeah,
What's that?
I'm interested to hear.
Yeah, okay, so. Transfer station, you all know what a transfer station is, right?
Yep.
So, back in May of 2021, we've been working on this one for a while. And I'm gonna give you the executive summary up front. Pretty much every place we have looked at has fizzled for one reason or hundreds of reasons. But I have a solution, and Jan, is going to be joining us here shortly. Jan, can you hear me okay? Maybe she's
Oh.
muted.
Oh, Jan, you're muted.
She gonna,
There she is.
Hi there.
Hey,
Okay,
Jen.
I just wanted to make sure you could hear the whole introduction here.
I can.
I'm gonna pull you into this in a minute.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, so back in May of 2021, one of our members, Laura, who's here tonight, kind of casually brought up the fact that Sunderland was one of the few towns in the area that does not have a transfer station. Instead, we have a garbage and recycling, curbside pickup through US Waste and Recycling. And if you are a customer of them, like most of us are, you've noticed that it's starting to get really, really, really expensive. So transfer stations not only do trash and recycling, but they do things like take it or leave it, have bulky items, appliances, tires, used motor oil, compost, household hazardous waste, blah, blah, blah. A lot of things can be dropped off there. And in a lot of towns, it kind of becomes a community focal point. For better or for worse. Oh, let's go meet at the transfer station. People meet there and it kind of builds community, right? We all have looked at a lot of transfer stations in the area. You have the little tiny one over in Whately, a really funky little one in Leverett, back behind the cemetery off of a little side dirt road, one up in Greenfield and Deerfield, which is a pretty phenomenal transfer station, I have to say. So there's some really good transfer stations to be using as models here, and inspiration perhaps. So back in August of 2022, we met with the select board to tell them, the select board members at the time, what we're up to, and wondered if we could get their approval, and we got the green light to move forward with it. So we have been doing that ad nauseum since then. So it's been 3 years now. In 2023, we put together a survey that was posted on the town website, had paper copies distributed at Millstone, at a elementary school event, and also sent out an email link to everybody so they could do the survey. We got about 150 responses. Over 80% were positive. A lot of them said, oh, well, would it include this, this, and this? So people were pretty interested in it, okay? So I've looked briefly into the operating budgets of some of the surrounding transfer stations. Leverett, for example, 2021 was the number that I had. They had an operating budget of about $83,000. That included salaries and all their expenses, did not include revenues, I don't think. Whately in 2023 had revenues, not including grant money and recycling revenues, which were about $6,000 of $37,000. For baggage, bag fees, dump fees, et cetera, et cetera. But we're looking at mostly town-owned land in Sunderland to find out where a nice location might be. Each one has different costs to develop them. Each one has some issues like I alluded to. The very first site that we looked at was behind the public safety complex. You have like, it's an 8-acre site parcel. It's got the public safety complex in the front with the police, fire, highway. You got the wastewater treatment facility in the back, and you have about 2 acres of undeveloped land in the middle. Well, and what we liked about that was centrally located, didn't have neighbors, residential neighbors. It was already largely developed. And the cons just started piling up here rapidly. High water table, it's classified as prime farmland, so it required a 100-foot buffer on either side, which took the 2 acres down to 1 acre, usable 1 acre. We would need the abutters to sign waivers that they would allow it. The fire department hates the idea because they have live fire training there. It's also an emergency helicopter landing site. It's in the 500-year floodplain of the Connecticut River. Finally, we just think, all right, this isn't gonna happen. So next, we shelved that idea. The second site we looked at, do you mind me giving you this detail?
No, this is good. This is good. I like it.
Okay. I think Jan might have even suggested this, the Richard Bump property, which is at the intersection of Route 47 going north and Falls Road. It's privately owned. It's 5 acres. It's fairly close to the center of town. It is a former landfill.
Yeah.
In town. I've been in touch with Mr. Bump, he was interested in selling it, but. The cons, again, started piling up here pretty big. We would have to pay money to purchase it and develop it. It's in the Connecticut River floodplain, so that raises some issues. We met out there once, with the Conservation Commission, and they thought there might be a wetland on site, so you would have to go through Low Wetland Protection Act
Yeah.
hearings, et cetera, have orders and conditions. Decided, okay, it's not worth it, so we shelved that one. We went to our third site, which is way up off of Reservation Road. Again, another former town landfill. It's
Oh, yeah.
abutted by the Klaus property. It's so Reservation Road, you actually have to go into Montague to get to it. So it's way at the far north end of town.
Yeah.
And you come back into Sunderland and then you go up a little, what looks like a private road, Tory Road, which is the way the Klauses get back to their property. But Jan and the Energy Committee met out there maybe a month ago. And again, the cons just started piling up. The slope would make it difficult to develop. The access is an issue. It's in an aquifer recharge area. And what I learned from Margaret the other day was there's some groundwater contamination from heavy metals, I believe.
PFAS,
What is it?
PFAS,
Yes, what is that?
it's a plastic, I believe, or-
Firefighters, yeah.
yeah, it's like the foam that comes out of like.
Yeah.
fire
AEEE, it's the firefighter, yeah, the
Yeah.
AEEE.
So given all that, took that off the table.
Hmm.
One site left that we're considering.
Okay,
I'm a GIS guy, that's what I did my
Sure.
career at UMass and for the state. I'm into the maps,
Yeah.
I've done a lot of GIS analysis here to try to find good spots. There really aren't many in town. I mean, the town owns a lot of land, but not any that were really standouts for a transfer station. So the last one we looked at was off of Bull Hill Road, right on the east side of the Warner gravel pit. And it's a piece of land the town owns. It's 14 acres. There's a little access road into it, right off of Bull Hill Road, across from the Bagden house, the fairly new kind of palatial place there. The pros here are that it's fairly close to the center of town, even though it's closer to Leverett probably than the center of town, but it's, it's not up in Montague. Only a little sliver of it on the eastern edge is classified as prime farmland. The southern edge, the very southern edge of this property is in a medium yield aquifer recharge area.
Yeah.
And since it looks like it's a former borrow pit, you come up at a level, there's about 2 acres up on that level. I sent a map to Margaret. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at it or if it's something we could call up here. But anyway, there's about 2 acres on the top part that are fairly flat and have some potential. Once you get past that upper part, which is the north end of that parcel, it's a long rectangular shaped thing. You've got a really steep slope. It's like 15, 16, I was on my bicycle with my Garmin, it's like 18% in a few places. So it's super steep going down into it. So
that's
that
where you'd have to
presents
go, yeah.
a whole variety of challenges. So when Jan met with us out there a few weeks back with the Energy Committee, we were looking at the idea of possibly considering that as a location for the transfer station. The cons are the lower 12 of the 14 acres are accessible with a really steep slope. The town had talked, somewhere in my notes is that the town was considering a solar field down there.
And you say, it's a.
Little Hill Road.
Oh, no, I don't know about that, I remember the treatment plant, sorry, or near, out in front. they were-
I think it was very briefly on our map 2 years ago, but I don't think that.
Not active.
And nothing that's active currently.
It wouldn't be affected if we did stick with the upper 2 acres, because the solar field, I assume, would be down in the lower area. And there's no 3-phase power on Bull Hill Road. Is that true?
Right, that's an issue.
Which could be an issue.
What's
So,
the issue for solar up there?
yeah, oh, is it? Right, because it doesn't have the capacity to handle that load. Yeah, okay. So Jan was talking about, Jan, I don't want to be putting words in your mouth here, but I'm gonna paraphrase what you told us out there. And she said, it's not a bad spot, but it might be $100,000 or so to develop it. Paving, putting in a road, et cetera, and kind of on the, as an offhand remark, she said, you guys have been putting a lot of work into this and not having any success. Why don't you think about going in on another town's transfer station? And it's like light bulbs went off on all of our heads.
Sure.
Like, instead of banging our heads against the wall and trying to fit a square peg into a round hole here, why not pursue that option? So that's all a way of saying, what do you think of that?
No, that was honestly one of the,
Yeah,
without disparaging anyone, have a problem with say waste from a number of bad experiences with them in the past and refuse to give them business, and so I don't. Luckily, recently, and just so everyone knows, a couple of companies are actually now offering trash service in town that aren't USA Waste.
Okay.
That being said, for a number of years, I was hoofing it up the greenfield
Yeah.
because that was the only option that we had
Uh-huh.
that was in the South County Solid Waste Treatment District that we're in. And East Hampton, I think, is the other location that accepts you can go there without a.
You don't have to be a
sticker.
town member.
Those are the only two though. I would love to see Deerfield or Leverett be an option. Leverett was another one that for a while, I was helping my friend pick her trash there, and I had an experience there. It's lovely little place. You guys sound like you've been there as well.
Yeah,
And honestly, in terms of feel and in terms of services that are offered, many good lessons to be learned from Leverett. Like their take it, leave it, like their composting operation, that kind of thing. But yeah, if we could develop relationships with towns closer and maybe a little bit less intimidating than Greenfield, in terms of, that's a much more of a like, mechanical drive, you're driving through, hurry up, get out of the way, whereas Leverett's much more of a, hey, let's stop and chat and kind of thing. And the one thing I wanted to say is that the one thing we don't gain from that plan is the point you brought up earlier, which is that these transfer stations end up becoming a focal point for people in town. If you run for office anywhere around here, where you go to collect signatures, you go to the transfer stations in Deerfield and Leverett and Montague and whatever, that's what you do.
Yeah.
We don't have that in town, and that's something that I noticed a number of years ago when I ran for office was, well, where do I go in Sunderland to collect signatures? The stand outside the corner store, I guess, maybe Millstone. That's not really a town location though. That all to say, I don't hate the idea. I think it's, if we can develop a relationship with a town that is both amenable and convenient, great. But it kind of raises the question of, is Deerfield, is Whately,
Yeah,
is Leverett?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I've heard offhand comments about bad relations between us and other people, other towns for some reason. Who knows what that's based on?
Can I tell you about Shutesbury's story with Leverett? So Shutesbury had a bunch of different issues with Leverett over regionalization and other things. But when it came to the transfer station, a member of the Shutesbury community was working at the transfer station. And he introduced a concept to both Leverett and Shutesbury and suggested their hours were very, very limited. They needed $3,000 to be open another day a week. For like 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours. So they came to Shutesbury. And we ended up having a really good discussion with them. And we now have the use of we don't take our trash there. We do everything else. So the $3,000, we make use of all those the composting, all of those other, things you call funky, but trading the books and picking things out of the barrels. But so we have that, Shutesbury has that relationship. And is part of your goal in doing this to do the trash dumping or not? Because if you just want to have all those other services and not do the transferring of trash, the part that the community is already paying privately to do, or are you trying to grow your services to provide a place for people to take their weekly trash.
Well, the trash, right?
Yeah, I can't
Trash
speak for everyone,
recycling.
but I think the goal here is to provide a in-town alternative
Right.
to going through the very few options that are, I mean, again, not trying to disparage it, but USA Waste doubled their prices in a matter of a couple of years.
Uh-huh.
And that's, the town doesn't have control, there's no collective bargaining going on there, there's no competition, there's no alternative. If we have a transportation in town, not only does it give people who don't wanna go that direction an option, but it also provides some safeguards and some, guardrails to companies like USA, knowing that if they push it too far, they're gonna lose customers, if they have another option. It gives some
I think
kind
they
of
have.
incentive there.
Yeah.
And so I think that, yeah. So
Can I-
roundabout answer your question.
Can I bring Jan into this now?
Of course.
Yes,
Do you all know who Jan is? Jan is the
Yes.
executive director of the Franklin County Solid Waste Management District, and we've been working with her for 3 or 4 years on this. So Jan, were you able to follow my long, sad story?
Oh, yes, and I want to apologize in advance because my Vermont internet has been a little wonky, so if I cut out, my apologies. Maybe like right now, you can hear me.
Yeah, you're breaking up a
Okay.
little.
Okay, so one of the idea that came up was Leverett is pretty full, I think. I don't really think Leverett would be an option for you folks. But Deerfield could be, and Deerfield is my original idea was not necessarily that you would bring material to the Deerfield side of the transfer station, but that their transfer station is very large and has a lot of empty space. And so the town could basically site a transfer station, lease part of their transfer station, and put in your own compactors and, bulky waste boxes. And it would just be open on different days. And the model for this is Charlemont and Shelburne. They actually are on the same parcel of land, and Shelburne pays rent to be there. They pay rent to the town of Charlemont, and it works beautifully. So, they're just open different hours, and residents either come in and go to the left to Charlemont or go to the right to Shelburne. So
So
Is there
each
any-
has their own set of equipment.
Now, if it's on all different days, is there room to share the same equipment? Just, they're open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and we're open Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, or something like that.
yeah, the challenge with sharing equipment is covering costs, right? So towns don't completely cover the transfer station is not completely covered by revenue. So there's a net expense that goes on the general fund. So, Deerfield's not going to want to pay for Sunderland's couches, or somebody brings something in and throws it in, or they're losing money on their bulky waste box or something. So I can't really imagine they would share it full time. What they could do is they could do like Berniston allows Leiden residents in with a extra permit. So that would be the other option, is that Sunderland residents could buy a permit, might be $100 a year as a non-resident, and then use the facility and pay, they have a pay-as-you-throw program and pay the fees. So it wouldn't be necessarily that Sunderland would come in and use their equipment one day a week, and then, the town would be using the equipment, but certainly residents could come in. We can talk to them about that idea.
Well, I think it's worth a discussion only because we have South County EMS, which is housed in South Deerfield, and it provides ambulance service with an assessment to Sunderland and Whately. We have South County Senior Center. We already have shared services with them. I think just taking it off the table and saying you can't share it without a discussion.
Yeah, I would definitely like to explore the different options with Deerfield and see
Yeah.
what their appetite is. I don't love the idea of doubling up on equipment, just because that seems like wasteful
Yeah,
in today's
me
day and
too.
age, like, if we're just.
And we're
this
used
over here on
to
Tuesday,
sharing,
Thursday.
but we have
Yeah.
things we already are doing with them.
Yeah, exactly, I would
Senior
be, I would be
center.
more apt to try to come up with a deal like the ones we have with our other services, where based on population size or based on usage, like they can have stickers and. This year we sold 400 stickers to Deerfield residents, we sold 125 to Sunderland residents, we divide the total operating cost by that much. I feel like if we approach Deerfield with that kind of an idea, you know. Volume always brings costs down, or mostly brings costs down, often brings costs down. I feel like there's an incentive on their end because they'd be able to, the cost per, per capita for them would go down as well. Without, again, I don't love the idea of doubling up on the equipment, it's just
employees,
wasteful.
everything else, I mean, you
You
just.
know, and also just in general. Small towns like ours are moving more and more towards regionalizing everything because all costs are more aptly shared when it comes to a couple of towns.
So it could be attractive to them.
To them and to us,
Yeah.
and possibly, I don't know what Conway's deal is, but it may be the kind of thing where we, rather than just having a conversation between two towns, maybe we have a conversation between Whately, Deerfield and Conway about, do we wanna have a South County transfer station where all four towns can come to? Whately shuts their little tiny operation down and move their budget towards Deerfield, all the towns come together and,
Where is
Lots of
Deerfield's?
It's, well, so. I don't know the name of the road that crosses I-91.
It's Lee Road.
Conway Road, 116?
No, it's,
Well, it's on Lee Road.
What?
what's the road?
It's Lee Road.
Lee
Oh.
Road, that's right, Lee Road crosses I-91, and that kind of curves up around. And the transfer station back there is huge, there's a massive amount of open space back there. So if they wanted to expand capacity, they have the room to do it.
well,
How
and
big's Whately's?
Hmm?
Whately, how big is Whately's?
Whaley's tiny,
What size?
yeah,
Oh,
it is,
really?
it's tiny. It's the
well, and that's
smallest one you'll ever see.
That's what I'm saying, if we do talk regionalization, it makes sense to, at the very least, open discussion to the other towns in the rural region, because Whately maybe they might have been hoping for a better solution, and they might be having an entity committee that's also looking for a new site because they're outgrowing theirs. I do also like the idea of not, contaminating more plots of land, honestly, that's always one of the concerns is, we talk about these plots of lands that are former landfill sites, and why is that important? It's important because that precludes a lot of future use of that land.
Right.
And, to the point of the safety complex, I'm actually kind of glad that we're not looking at that, because if it is prime farmland, don't really wanna contaminate it forever. And especially with concerns like PFAS and microplastics and whatever. If we already have a location that's being used for that has space in it, I'm all for that.
Sounds like a win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think about abutters, like on the Bull Hill Road site, you'd be right behind two houses. And they would not be happy. I would be happy
Yes.
if I lived there, for sure. And yeah, developing more land is not my priority either.
It's one of those things you hear a lot, where we want one in town, just not near my house, right?
Exactly.
Everyone wants a transportation in town, but I also don't really want it on our cul-de-sac as well either, if we can afford that. So if we have a location where the butters are already used to it being a transfer station. Sounds great.
Yeah, so that sounds like something that we could start looking into and make some inquiries and see what sort of enthusiasm there might be for that. Jan, great idea.
Yes, thank you very much, Dan, for all your
Okay,
work on this. We appreciate not just that idea, but also I keep hearing the energy committee say, and then Jan came with us here, and Jan came with us there, and Jan came with us here. So just want to say how much we appreciate that you've been working with our energy committee in town to try to improve our options. So thank you, Jan.
Yeah,
Great.
absolutely. You're welcome. I mean, that's my job. So, and I'm glad to do it. I like
Wonderful.
doing it. I like helping out. It's great.
All right. I'll let you know how things go.
Okay, be in touch.
Thanks.
Take care. All right, that's what we got.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for your persistence and all your efforts.
You're
You
welcome.
are amazing to be able to stick with us like, that's
Well,
great, it's great.
Jan kept saying, you guys are persistent, you're not getting up here. It's funny that this is possibly going such a different direction than as we had set out to do, so. I like it, I think it's a positive thing.
And we'll be happy to reconvene at some point when
Yeah.
the charger guy is available to do so.
Yeah, Yeah.
Keep us available, keep us apprised, and we'll be happy to, put you on another topic next time.
yeah, I'm not sure how that fell through the crack, because I just talked to him a few days ago about it, but. We'll be back,
Sounds good.
all right, thank you all, appreciate it.
We appreciate all your work on this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, do you have any questions?
Pick your name for my notes.
Yes, I'm Nathaniel Waring, the chair,
Nathaniel,
Waring, Waring.
thank you.
Yep.
Crystal Tremblay,
Crystal,
Tremblay,
thank you.
Dan Murphy.
And Murphy. I got you already.
Thank you.
All right. Guess we're out of here. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Absolutely,
so
thank you
much.
guys very much for coming in. All right, our next item is to review the 4-year 26 draft budget process timeline.
Okay, so, I did have one meeting with the finance committee. And they are very, interested in working with the select board on this new schedule. I think Margaret outlined it in the last meeting I wasn't at. But to have, work sessions with the select board where you have a shorter meeting just that night with the finance committee. I think we talked about their request, they are requesting to meet with the select board on December 9th. To review the big picture, and if, depending on how far I get in the budget, I might have some revenue projections. I'm hoping to have revenue projections at that point for our first discussion, because I think that's very helpful for the big picture. So we have an idea of what's up ahead. And then after that, I understand the agreement is for FinCom and Select Board to meet in the off weeks from the regular, from this meeting date, starting in January. Is that what everyone?
That's what I.
I don't know if you had
Yeah.
decided on a specific date
Well,
as much as just.
only because when we look at this draft here,
Mhm.
this is like the 13th, no one's doing presentations before January 13th.
So yeah, I would find January 13th being the first of those.
Well, so we gotta actually,
So are we, just to clarify, are we talking about having the different departments coming in for their presentations be with us and the finance committee on these separate
Yes.
weeks, and then the opposite weeks would be the
Your
ones
regular
where we do all
business.
our. Okay.
Your regular
I think
business.
it makes sense, because budgets, you know.
Oh, yeah, no, that's great, rather than having it be every week, especially with the finance committee. Last year, they'd come in, wait through our entire meeting, or, be here for the 10 minutes of it and then leave. I'd much rather combine as much as we can
Yes.
in both directions,
Yeah.
so. Okay,
Efficient.
Yeah, that sounds like it'll be very helpful for both.
absolutely,
right, because then they only have to commit to every other week versus every week.
yeah,
When we're listening to just one or two budgets.
no, I like that a lot. Okay,
And if things get hectic for them, that they can have those other weeks to meet to
Mhm.
take care of issues
Yeah.
in the budget or
and I'll
follow
give
up.
both committees more time to think about stuff between sessions, rather than. We meet and then 6 days, and we meet again, 6 days, and we meet again, it gives us, we each have 13 days of time to think about it and whatnot, so. Yeah, I like that idea all around.
Wonderful. So
Alright.
that's the proposal, and
Wonderful.
I think Margaret already outlined it and sold it, and I'm just here to review it.
Yep, no, we were on board with that last time,
Okay.
just making sure we're all on the same page. Do you need a vote on that from us?
Sure, might as well
Okay.
take one.
At the time, I'd entertain a motion, to have the select board meetings coincide with finance committee meetings on every other week. And have select board regular business be on the options.
So moved.
Second,
Alright, we have a motion made and seconded for our schedule. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye, 3-0.
Wonderful, thank you.
Alright, anything else you want to discuss about the budget, or is that it for now, and we'll?
For now, the 8 hours I put in, or 10 I put in today, I haven't gotten it figured out yet.
Yeah, if your entire budget in your first day, come on,
Hey,
fully
guys.
hired before. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's absolutely understandable. We appreciate that you're jumping right in and getting it going, and we'll discuss it in 2 weeks at our next meeting. All right, our next order of business is to announce, the notice of proposed acquisition of an agricultural preservation restriction on the property in the town of Sunderland pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 7C, Section 37, Upper Gothic Top Farm Project ID number 24A03. That's a mouthful. So this is a piece of property that the town is looking for a conservation restriction on. Do you need discussion with anything from the board on that, or just our vote to,
I think tonight, just your vote.
okay, and any discussion the board wants to have around this property?
No, I'm good.
Alrighty, in that case, I would entertain a motion to approve the,
So there's something
There was
here,
a-
it says to be read into the 11/12 select board meeting minutes.
okay, so that's probably,
So it does need to be read, I'm sorry.
okay, so yeah. Yeah, do you mind,
Oh, yeah, whatever. This whole thing?
I have no idea.
I guess. So, right,
Yeah, I think it's the in compliance, yeah.
all right, in compliance with. General Law, Chapter 7C, Section 37, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, acting by and through its Department of Agricultural Resources. Hereby gives notice that it proposes to acquire an agricultural preservation restriction, APR, on the real property identified herein for the purpose of protecting in perpetuity its superior and productive agricultural resources by preventing their conversion to other uses. The application received by MIDAR indicates that this property is owned by Jeffrey B. Hubbard, Joseph J. Hubbard, and Mary Ellen Ahern, and consists of parcels located at Russell Street in Sunderland as approximately represented on the attached maps. The APR may encompass all or parts of the area shown. The current use of the property is primarily for hay and corn. Following the reporting of the APR, the use of the subject property is limited to agricultural use as more particularly set forth in the APR documents, the general laws, chapter 184, section 31, and the regulations of the department, 330 CMR 22 ETSCQ. Massachusetts Departments of MDAR. That's it.
wonderful, thank you, Dan. Alright, I would entertain a motion to accept and notify the public of this proposed.
I motion we accept the APR for the Hubbard Ahern property on Russell Road as read by Dan.
Second.
Alright, we have a motion made second, all those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
3-0, thank you. Alright, that was our last piece of new business, first up for old business. Dan, any updates from you?
No updates.
Crystal,
Oh,
any-
no, actually, got one. And Becca, you may have seen it in the email. We did get a first update of the feasibility study.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that made it to but maybe we'll share that around. I did want them to put on the actual letterhead to be a PDF form, but they sent an email, but we'll start with that, but we'll get it on, official letterhead bi-weekly, just to give us some idea what's going on. They're focusing right now on what side of the road and gathering information right now, but I will make sure, maybe send that out when you see it in your inbox.
Beautiful.
But that's
And,
what started.
I think I have Margaret scheduled a meeting on Thursday.
Yes.
For me to meet with the biologist, regarding the project
That's right.
about the MISA permit.
Yep.
So I'll be doing that in the afternoon on Thursday. I don't have confirmation from him yet that I saw. I'll
Okay.
search by name.
I'll try to join if I can.
Great, that'd be great, Dan.
Thank you, Dan. Crystal, anything from you?
South County EMS meeting last week, everything's going great, they're obviously getting ready to do budgets for next year, so,
That,
but yeah, everything's going good there, they're just doing an amazing job.
wonderful.
How many ambulances do they have?
So there's there's two that are on. During the day, one for the night, and then there's a backup. They're in the process of, putting onto, they have an electric vehicle that will be a paramedic response unit that can just, it's a non-transport vehicle. So that if somebody is having a, bad medical emergency, they can get paramedics there quicker, they can
Great.
go to other areas, they actually go and they could, again, they're in the process of getting that, the vehicle's been purchased, it's there, but it takes a little bit of time to get that vehicle. But yeah, that's gonna be a really exciting endeavor for them to have this non-transport vehicle that can just go and provide paramedic level service to the community. It'll be
Wow,
great.
that's such a upgrade. Most communities don't have that.
No, we are very lucky to have the South County EMS and, I should,
Yeah.
lucky isn't really the word for it. We are very fortunate because this is
Yeah.
not luck. This is a lot of hard work and planning by a lot of
It
people.
is, but
But it's really, and it's apparently been a model that other regions have been looking to because it's a unique model that's working really well for us. And there's other areas that have
Yeah.
towns of our size that would benefit from a regionalized EMS like that we do. So, very proud of that outfit. It is wonderful.
Yeah,
um,
great.
Testament to the people who work there, the leadership, go past any permit, so. I only have one small thing, I'm not gonna say minor, because it's not minor. Just a reminder that, in the wake of the election last week, there has been a uptick in, violent language towards people in communities around, including our own. Our local Korean deli had a very hateful letter left on their door, following the election. I just want to remind everyone that this is our little town, we're all in together, hate has no place here, and if you do find yourself a victim of hate or, are aware of it or whatever, please do bring it to the attention of those of us in town who can do something about it, because this is not the Sunderland that we live in, and, there's no place for that here. All right, that's it for me. Becky, do you have anything for us for town manager updates? I know that you haven't been
Well-
here long enough to update us about much, but
And I apologize, what I'm spotting on the agenda is an executive session as a final item, but is that just, it's not specifically
No,
written,
it's
so,
always there's a placeholder if we need it.
okay, so I will use that placeholder to put in the executive session to take care of the minutes, clean up the minutes that
okay,
are open once I figure out what they are.
okay, yeah, so not for this week, obviously, but
Right, for the next week. So
okay.
thank you.
Yeah, no, that's why we have it there, is because then we can always not go into executive session, but if you don't, that's it.
Right.
All right, any
and-
other updates from you, or?
I think I have maybe one or two just on the assessors. We did get, I don't know if Margaret brought it up as a concern, but I know the Sanderson Place valuation had been at around 400,000, and she was following up with building commissioners and assessors, and we were, Nikki handed us a copy of the valuation. It's, I think, 1.4 million. I will forward it to you. I'll get you a copy. I should have brought it with me, but I did not grab that piece. But so that it's a full valuation now, we believe, so it's, $1 million added to the tax rolls that wasn't there before, so.
Which is great news, and that was
Yes.
something we had last year, we had kind of asked a little bit about, but never really followed up on, and, none of us like leaving money on the table, so that's definitely a good thing for us to recover.
And I'm following up with the assessors, working with Nikki to figure out where they're at with the recap, but also there should be a classification hearing with the select board. You probably are familiar with those, where you set whether there's one tax rate or two. I don't know for sure. I'm assuming there's probably a commercial rate in Sunderland. I don't know. In Shutesbury, I only had a residential rate, but I'm assuming there's probably two tax rates.
Yeah. In order to, yeah.
And that is usually done before the recap votes to set the tax rate. So I've been talking to Nikki and reviewing some of her emails from DOR to figure out how close they are to being prepared for that. And I'll follow up with the other gentleman, David might be his name. The other assessor, working in the assessor department and advising her. But I really want to get that on track because, the other issue for a town is if you're not collecting your taxes on time, you could have cash flow problems So we want to make sure to avoid that and get the tax bills out.
Appreciate it.
Wonderful. All right, anything else from you?
That's all I have tonight.
Alrighty, as mentioned a minute ago, we do not have an executive session tonight, so we're not gonna do that. Our next regular meeting will be Monday, November 25th. That is the week of Thanksgiving on Monday. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
A motion we adjourn.
Second?
Alright, we have a motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, 3-0, 7-3-5. Thank you very much.